are watching Where Are They Now? With your host, Dianne Hart. Now here's Dianne.
I am your host, Dianne Hart-Lowman, and this evening I have the awesome pleasure of interviewing a musician, composer, and a songwriter, Mr. Tal Cohen. How are you this evening?
Very well. Very well.
Good. Well, let's jump right in. Where are you from?
So I was born in the Middle East and I moved to Australia when I was very young. So I actually got most of my training in Australia. And now I've been living in Miami for about 13 years now. Unbelievable. Okay. It's been a long time. Wow.
What school did you attend in Australia?
So I went to WAAPA, WAAPA, Western Australian Academy of Performing Arts. Mm-hmm. We have some great musicians coming out of there, like Linda O, who's playing with everyone right now, including Pat Metheny she played with, and Kenny Barron. So many amazing musicians. Her career is, Troy Roberts, who's doing really well. And many musicians that's coming out of the school. Very, very, honest, small school in Perth, Western Australia, which is, funny fact, is the most secluded city in the world. By that I mean, its airport is the furthest airport from any other airport in the world. So it's very secluded.
So now, how many songs do you think you've written? I understand that you are a songwriter. Mm-hmm. How many songs do you think you have written? What's in your
it's kind of a funny one, being a jazz composer. You kind of write for an album, so I if I had to count them, I would say maybe 30. I mean, I have a few albums out there, and sometimes you do jazz standards and arrangements of jazz standards. I have quite a few of those. I would say maybe 30, but it's kind of more about the project, Mm-hmm. I have so many different projects going on, so if I had to put a number on it, between 30 to 40, I would say. Pieces from the heart, you could say.
That's okay, that's okay. How old were you when you started playing piano?
I was probably about 5 or 6. Around there I started playing classical music. I had formal training, and then I kind of went into jazz. I was really never... The classical world interests me more now than it did back then, actually. Now I'm kind of going back to it and kind of appreciating it a lot more now that I'm more experienced, I would say. Kind of doing it for myself with no goal in mind. It's a really nice feeling. We all have a goal somewhere, but it's cool to do something just for yourself without any need for result.
Now, you were just a baby when you started playing. What got you there? One of your parents played?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the main thing is that my parents always had an appreciation for art, so they always tried to send us to any artistic thing. We also used to dance. What do you call that? Steps? What's the, with the white and black shoes? What? Tap dancing. Tap dancing.
Tap dancing. Okay.
I was terrible at it. My coordination with my feet is not good. I.e., why I play the piano. But they always had an appreciation for art, so they tried to send us to do that. And we learned flute and we learned xylophone. And when we graduated from xylophone, we went to piano. And we actually had a room in the house where we called the art room, where we had keyboard there and paintings. And we always had, I suppose I'm very fortunate in the way I grew up in a time where maybe it's more about my parents, but it was also a time I feel like that maybe it's changed. I don't know what you think, but in the early 90s, there was a lot of appreciation for art. What do you think, Dianne? Do you agree?
I think so. So, yes. Well, I grew up in an era in the 70s where there was lots of music, and it was a true appreciation for music here in the state of Florida, because that's where I've always been.
Yeah, I heard there's so many jazz clubs, and, where are they now?
Exactly. Let me ask you this. So you have siblings that also played various instruments as well?
Yes, actually, me, my brother, and my cousin we all moved together to Australia, the two families, and we started a progressive rock band. It's kind of a dark secret of mine, that it was called Fret Zero, which is actually the zero fret on the guitar. It doesn't exist. So anyway, we did like a progressive rock metal. They're fantastic musicians. I'm actually the only one that kept on taking it to, chasing it.
Next level. Yeah.
Next level, yeah, exactly. But they're fantastic musicians. And again, it was kind of something we're always accompanied by, So yeah, my siblings are also musicians.
Who influenced you the most in the direction that your music has gone, starting early all the way up to now?
Well, it's kind of a tough. It's a really good question, which has a non-definitive answer, because obviously Oscar Peterson, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, all the greats, some less familiar ones too. Bud Powell, I don't know if it's considered less familiar. All the greats, all the jazz greats, some classical composer. I'm a huge Chopin fan, but also some of my peers right now. Some of my good friends that I kind of we never say that. We always look at the greats and the history, but we also have like peers that influence us, teachers, and John DeVersa, the head of the Department of UM, is a great influence to me. Armando Gola, who's one of the best Cuban bass players to walk the planet. Ignacio Berroa. Being in Miami, there's a big Cuban influence, so a lot of those people too. But definitely the jazz greats of jazz, the African American tradition.
So let's talk about a few individuals that you've played with. Let's talk about some of those individuals.
Yeah, so as of recent, I've been a longtime member of Greg Osby's band. Greg Osby's recorded an album in 2019. That's his most recent album. Came out in 2022, I think. Took a long time to get out, 23. And we've been touring extensively all around the world with that. We actually did a Ukraine tour right before the war. I suspect we're one of the latest bands to actually maybe be there, right before the war. It was really right before. Kind of interesting. Played with Herbie Hancock for a long time, and Jack DeJohnette's band. Is a really prominent and very inspiring musician. And I also played with Terence Blanchard a little bit recently. We did a concert with the London Philharmonic, which was absolutely amazing. Beyond that, I run my own group, and I've played many jazz festivals around the world. I play in New York regularly. Play with Wayne Escoffery. I'm going next week to play in San Francisco. I suppose the main answer is I'm an active musician doing my thing. I'm not the Herbie Hancock status level yet, but we're walking. I think it's a separate conversation, but it's about finding something that's actually enjoyable, a life for a musician that's enjoyable and fulfilling. And I didn't get into this to be a millionaire, and I'll tell you a secret, Dianne, I'm not a millionaire. So finding fulfillment and accomplishment from everything that I'm doing, although I'm not at the Herbie Hancock status. Yeah.
Well, you don't have to be a Herbie Hancock status to become a millionaire. If you have enough music and you get enough royalties at some point, you may be a millionaire.
Well, you're 100% right. I didn't get into this for the money. If I got into music for the money, I think I would be But I'm very fortunate. I live in Miami Beach. I do well financially. I tour a lot, and I found my own following. People that like my playing and call me to do special projects, and in Europe and elsewhere around the world. And I go back to Australia to play. And I'm also a full-time lecturer at the University of Miami for jazz piano, which is a very respected university. And and I can't complain at all. So I think that's a better way to put it,
Right.
I'm still not a millionaire, but
Yeah, when Pete called me, he was like, I love his music. Can you please get in touch with him and see if we can get an interview?
That's really cool.
And I was like, yeah, okay, Pete, I'll do it. Let's hear his music and all.
Thank you, Dianne.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We're going to take a break and we're going to listen to Picturesque.
Picturesque, yes.
Okay, well, I'll take a break and we will be right back. this is Dianne Hart. Be sure to catch my shows, The Opening Statement, as we interview politicians and special guests on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on the Lit TV network on Roku. Also, watch Where Are They Now as I interview entertainers of yesterday and today on Detroit Hot TV at 7:30 p.m. on Facebook. Thank you.
You are watching Where Are They Now with your host, Dianne Hart. Now here's Dianne.
Welcome back to Where Are They Now. I'm your host, Dianne Hart-Lowman, and my special guest this evening is Mr. Tal Cohen. What a Bad Jam. Now tell me, what inspired that song?
Picturesque. So we were in the studio. We have a new band called Beast Mode Trio. We've been playing together for a very long time, and it's Jonathan Joseph on drums and Armando Gola on the bass. And Jonathan Joseph, one of the most inspiring drummers I think ever, played with Jeff Beck for a long time, and Richard Bona, and he brings kind of like a African kind of style drumming to it. Armando Gola, what can you say about Armando? He's played with the who and who of Cuban music legends, and he's currently touring with Chucho Valdez. And I brought in this tune specifically for the recording, and we finished it. And I think Gola said, "It sounds like a picture." And I said, "Wow, that's kind of cool. Like, yeah, it's kind of like a moment in time, and it grabs this picture, and everyone can kind of make their own different picture of it. But I think that's the point. Like, you listen to it, and it's kind of like a picture comes into your mind, or something like that. So we called it picturesque."
Picturesque. Okay. So let me ask you this. What do you think is one of your most remembered performances?
Oh, wow. I need to think about it. Definitely one that was amazing recently. In April, I performed with the London Philharmonic and Terence Blanchard. And that was, that was amazing. The London Philharmonic. Oh, my God. Just incredible. So that was one that I never, it's kind of like one of those things, like, will I ever play with the London Philharmonic? And then it happens, it's kind of like a dream come true kind of thing. I mean, I don't know anyone else that it's such a privilege. So that one for sure. And I think the other one is when I won the Barry Harris competition. Barry Harris, one of the, most amazing piano players to ever live in, from the bebop kind of style and more. And he was there, and I got to meet him and talk to him a little bit, and he awarded me with the Barry Harris, piano jazz competition. I got to perform the Detroit Jazz Festival, and it was very shortly after I moved to the States. It was in 2015, so like 2 years after I moved. So I remember that being a very monumental thing. It was more like a personal monumental thing rather than like a performance that, do you know what I mean? It was like a self-achievement where, this one I did recently with Terence and the Philharmonic was like, wow, what amazing like music, like it's bigger than me kind of thing.
Right.
But there's been many. I played many great jazz festivals in Poland, and I played with Greg Osby in amazing theaters, and I remember I played the first time I played in Lincoln Center was really cool. Many things like that, but those two I named were, monumental maybe for the time that they happened.
Right.
Kind of a complicated answer to a relatively simple question. So we're good at that. Musicians are good at that, overcomplicating things.
That's good, because I remind you of some of the best times of your life.
Yes.
Most interesting parts. So there's nothing wrong with that. Are you promoting any shows currently?
Yes, I am. So I'm traveling to, I think it's the weekend of November 17. I'm going for an interview in Baton Rouge. That's how you say it, right? Baton Rouge in New Orleans?
Oh, New Orleans.
Baton Rouge, right? Baton Rouge. Yeah. Am I saying it funny? Yeah, I think that's how you say it. So I'm going there to do a piano solo concert for this great series. And I'm doing an interview, a concert, and then a clinic. I'm also going to Spain to play the Ibiza Jazz Festival. And right now, next weekend, I'm going to play the Black Cat with Wayne Escoffery. So to my San Francisco friends, I'll see you there.
So the one that you're doing on November 17th in Louisiana, do you have the location or something?
Yes, that's really cool. I have to look this up. It's a really good question. I'm looking it up right now.
So while you're looking that up, can you tell us what social media platforms we can find you on?
Yes, definitely. It's at Tal Cohen Jazz on Instagram. And that's also my Facebook. And you can go to my website, talcohenmusic.com. So here it is. It's Wednesday, November 18. Mm-hmm. So 17th will be the interview. November 18 will be the performance. And it's the Kari Sawarge Community Arts Center. I'll spell that out. CarySaurage Community Arts Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And it should be in a really, really cool Batiste Legacy Sessions, it's called.
Okay. Now you're going to California, did you say?
Yes, August 27th, that weekend. So in 2 weeks, I'll be performing with the Black Cats. We've got a really special set. It's Tal Cohen and Wayne Escoffery, a tribute to Coltrane. But we'll be playing many other things, but it's going to be really cool. We're there for 4 nights. I really think that the Black Cat in San Francisco is really the only place that still is doing these kind of residencies, which bring you out for 4 days. It was very common maybe in the 70s, Dianne. I remember the great free jazz player Ornette Coleman had a residency in the same club for 6 months.
Wow. Yeah.
That does not happen anymore.
Well, I think that kind of happens over in Vegas. There's some folk out of Detroit.
That's right. That's a really good point. They do those shows, yeah.
Right, and they stay there for months.
Long time.
Yeah, for long, long runs.
I don't know if it's as applicable for jazz, but yes, you're 100% right. They do have those big shows for a long time. You're right. It's a really good point. Okay, Vegas for the win.
Let me ask you this. Do you have an address or the location where you're going to be on August 27th?
Oh, yeah. It's called the Black Cat Jazz Club. If you Google that, you'll find that it's a very established jazz club. I can give the exact address. Okay. It's on 400 Eddy Street, San Francisco. 400 Eddy Street. We'll be there every night from the 27th till the 30th.
All right. You were looking for an address for me? Or we got that?
Oh, no, that was for the Baton Rouge Legacy Series.
Okay, and then the 27th. And then you're going to Spain after that?
Right before that, actually, I'll be going to Spain in October,
Okay, in October.
But I don't think any of the viewers are going to fly to Spain to see me.
Maybe not.
Maybe.
Will it be? Maybe. Will any of these be streamed live?
I don't know about that. It's a possibility. If anyone is interested, you can go to the Ibiza Point Jazz Festival. I think it's called the Ibiza Point Jazz Festival. This is my second time playing the festival.
Oh, okay.
And it's remarkable. Yeah, so it's called Jazz Point Ibiza, and it's between October 15 to 18. I'll be doing a few performances there. It's going to be really cool, yeah.
Well, the best part about where they can see it all over the world. So maybe somebody in Spain, because we do have some people that look at
100%. You're right.
Right. We'll be able to actually see it.
I shouldn't assume no. The world is getting smaller and smaller, so you're right.
Yes, it is. That it is indeed. It is indeed. Let me ask you this. I'm going to back way up. You started playing as a kid. When was the first time you got a real paycheck? How old were you?
You mean paid gig, right?
Yeah, paid gig. Not a paycheck from a job, but
yeah. Actually, that happened to me recently too, because I'm my second year at my University of Miami, so it's the first time I actually am getting a paycheck. But I think it happened in Australia, where I started to kind of play in local, wine bars, things like that. And I remember it paid like $50 or something. It was probably like, if I had to put a year on it, 2005 or something, and I started to, maybe a little earlier, 2002, something like that. When I was like, I don't know, in my early teens, and I started to play.
I was about to ask, what was that like to know that you're going on a gig and you're really going to get paid for this, for doing something you love to do?
Well, it's amazing, actually, because you don't expect it, and you're like, wow, I just made music, and you see the $50 you get paid for it, and you're like, oh my God, I can do it,
Right.
It's kind of funny because none of my friends were musicians. We were still in school or something, and I was already doing some gigs. So I had a lot more money than them, because they was like, and I was already gigging, and I was, being very generous. And then we graduated, and they, became, established engineers or something, and
Right.
But I had money first, I could say. But it's an amazing feeling, and if you don't, as cliche that this is going to sound, if you don't lose that feeling that you're actually doing something you love and still getting paid for it, I think you're going to be okay. It's when you get a little later, when you feel like you deserve more, which maybe you do. You've done a lot in your career, and then you go to the bar and you're like, hey, can I get a drink or something? And someone's like, no. You've been, like when people are being a little more like, and you're like, whoa, I just played in Spain, and now, but that's essentially, with the exception of Herbie Hancock or it's a really interesting life. One day you might be playing a great festival, like in Baton Rouge. And, I won't tell you how much that pays, but it pays very, very well. And I'm doing an interview, and the hotels and the flights, of course, and you feel like a king,
Right.
For lack of a better term, you feel very appreciated. And then the next day you're back here in your life, in your apartment, and you do the gig that and I go to school and I teach there, and I'm in my office or something, and then I go on the road again, and I'm very much appreciated, and what can we get, and you're like, wow, that was great, and then you come back here and you play at the local Miami place where everyone knows you, and it's a very interesting thing, Luckily for me in this point of my life, which is a privilege for musicians, is I can say no. If I feel underappreciated or it doesn't make sense to me, I'm not going to take the gig, But a lot of musicians can't afford to do that, so they might be traveling and they feel on top of the world there, and they're like, wow, I just played in front of thousands of people, and then, hey, can you play at the local winery in front of 5 people? Hey, we need you to advertise because no one's going to, It's like this two worlds where you like, feel so on top of the world, and then you're back in your hometown, and life is regular,
Yeah. Do many of your students know how awesome you are? You've been all around the world. Do you talk to them about that when you're teaching?
I try, I try and encourage them to check out the teachers who are teaching them. But a lot of them choose the University of Miami for the teachers. I mean, these are very, very talented people who study jazz, and so a lot of them do know, or have a clue into the teachers that they're studying with, and that's why they are in the University of Miami, because they want to study with those specific teachers. So a lot of the students have done the research. Not all of them. You're right, Dianne. Some of them need a reminder sometimes to go, hey, go and check this out.
All right. Well, we're going to take our second break, and we're going to listen to Yesterday's. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what inspired that song. So we will be right back.
Detroit hot television on the cutting edge of urban internet TV. You are watching Where Are They Now with your host, Dianne Hart. Now here's Dianne.
Welcome back to Where Are They Now? I'm your host, Dianne Hart, and this evening I have the awesome pleasure of interviewing Mr. Tal Cohen. That's also a bad jam. Let's talk a little bit about what inspired that song.
That one specifically is a jazz standard. It's an old jazz standard, Yesterdays, by Jerome Kern, I think. And we just started playing it in the group. During COVID, I found us a regular gig here. And once places started to open up, we had a two-year regular gig in Miami. And we kind of found some jazz standards we communicated, and we came up with our own kind of in an odd time signature kind of arrangement of it. And we really found ourselves having a lot of fun on this tune. We played it for years. The band kind of morphed it into its own thing, so we just decided to record it. So it's kind of like a playground, and when we're all kind of having fun on this like canvas,
So you have truly had an opportunity to enjoy your craft, and you're loving every moment of it. And I can tell that. So that's wonderful. Not everybody gets that opportunity. Some people who even love it don't get to travel around the world and have the opportunity to play like you have had. That's great in itself.
I would say, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what kind of advice would you give to your students about what's going on in the music industry and how do they survive it?
That's a big question, loaded question, controversial
you can take your time and tell us about it, because I know that it is.
Yeah, I like to connect it to what you said before about me traveling. Like, we always want more, right? Like, I feel like I'm traveling and I'm doing well, and like I said, I come back and there's a lot more to achieve, a lot more to do. But you also have to be comfortable with your life and kind of we know too much of the not happy musician, right? We don't have shortage of those, Dianne. We have plenty of musicians who are struggling amazing musicians, very tremendous musicians that are struggling to make ends meet.
Yeah.
So my advice, and really the honest advice, is live below your means. This country specifically will give you a credit card and tell you go and spend it.
Right.
I'm just saying the truth. I'm not even judging it. I'm just saying what it is. I don't know a lot of people that are not in credit card or in debt for something, my advice is live under your means. Buy that second-hand car cash. I lived like a student until about 5 years ago. By live like a student, I mean the same level. What would you say? Same surroundings, same level of
level. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, level. And I saved up my money from all the touring and everything that I did, and I managed to buy an apartment on Miami Beach. Right. It's nothing fancy, but I have my grand piano here. I'm looking at it right now, and then it's very comfortable, and it allowed me to save even more money, and I don't owe anything on it. But I lived with housemates till like 3 or 4 years, now 6 years ago, and saved and didn't need anything. I had a 2011 Nissan Altima, which was great. The air conditioning was working. I didn't need anything else. Unfortunately, someone hit it, and I replaced it with a 2018 Nissan Altima. So. Point being is that if you can live under your means and not give in to that acquiring more kind of society, I think you're going to be okay, Right. Musicians can't do it because one month we might have a great month when we're in season and we're playing, and we might make, I don't know, 15 grand that month. Wow, great. But then the next month something might happen. The economy, we're very dependent on the economy or something, and it might not be as good. And if you spend that 15 months from that month, the 15 grand you made, the next month is going to be pretty difficult for you. You can't just have the money and spend it. It doesn't work. Not for musicians. You got to have some savings. You got to be able to fall on something. You got to be able to have security, which is not a credit card, you know. So that's my advice, really. I mean, from a financial point of view.
Today, things are so different than they were in the past, where now everybody thinks that I'm streaming, I'm going to make all this money on these streams. And I've been looking into it because we have someone on our record label that my husband owns, Dianne Music, and streaming does not pay any money.
No.
You need millions and millions of streams to make $1. It's crazy how ridiculous it is.
Yeah.
From your standpoint, what do you think it is that we may be able to do to reverse that? Or will it ever be able to be reversed where we go back and we're not relying on just streams?
Wow, that's a really great question. I think the problem was that we didn't have enough regulation on streaming at the time. Even YouTube, you can find whole albums on YouTube, plenty of them. How do you reverse that? I don't know. I don't have the answer for that, Dianne. We need more regulation on it, you know. Like, I saw this thing that you can buy a track for 99 cents, free, you know. But a cup of coffee is $5 now, you know. But a track is 99 cents. A track that you're gonna have forever, that people paid $10,000 to go in the studio, and you know, and all this, you know, and it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. I do believe that there's a renaissance of live music. People want to go out and see live music. I really do believe so. New York is getting so many new jazz clubs right now. It's unbelievable. It's a renaissance. People want to come out and see live music. I feel like the money's in live music, live gigs. And that's what we're seeing a lot of musicians really hitting the road, like Pat Metheny is still touring, and Herbie Hancock is still touring. And I'm not saying it's because of the money, because I think they have enough. But they're enjoying it too, of course. But it's still lucrative. They're still making money on it, and they're not losing money on it, that's for sure. And we're seeing young musicians touring quite a lot, going to Europe and playing. And there's still a market for live music, and I think that's actually, I'm hopeful about that.
Let's talk a little bit about what it looks like from a legal standpoint. So many entertainers get taken advantage of because they're not paying attention to the contracts. So I'm certain before you do anything, you know exactly what's on that paper.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, if it's the local kind of club or something like that, you know, someone that you trust or musicians that you've worked with in the past, you know, then maybe you don't need to do that, or at least as much. But yes, they are. I think that the main thing to look at is what the venue is offering to, like, what are they expecting from you, and if you don't deliver that, what happens then? From a legal standpoint, like you're saying, like, you know, for example, you could be booked at, I won't name the venue, you could be booked in a very established venue, and what happens if there's a natural disaster on the day?
Right.
What happens then? Those kind of things. Or maybe there's, you know, another event that's like pop, you know, the president's in town. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it affects your attendance, but you've already paid for the flights, you've already fronted up the money, you already got the band there, and you're really counting on that money to come in to cover costs and pay the band or whatever. What happens in those situations? Are you getting paid half? Are you getting paid nothing? Are they rescheduling it? You know.
So when you say I'm booked, can you give me my deposit?
Yes.
To help cover those expenses.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And entertainers.
Deposit is very important. Not enough musicians use the deposit thing because musicians trust. If you treat musicians right, think about it this way: they'll make videos for you, they'll advertise you, they'll tell friends about you, they'll come and spend money at your venue, they'll you know, put on the website, what have you. They'll come and play and do fundraisers, and you know, if you treat musicians right, you will get so much out of musicians. You know, if musicians feel appreciated, outside the money. Like you can't just, hey, have whatever you want. We can't pay you that much, but have whatever you want. And musicians are going to feel very appreciated, and it's going to work in your benefit. And I think sometimes venues forget that. They start nickel and dime musicians and, hey, can I get something to eat? Oh, well, that's not in the contract. And it's like, well, the contract said a meal. What is that like those, I feel like the venues kind of get into that to save the extra $5. I don't know what they're saving. What are we doing? You're kind of at the point of diminishing returns, and it's like, then the musicians are also very good at talking bad about venues. So very quickly they'll be like, I don't want to play that venue. They try to get me to pay for a cracker that I had. I don't know, So right. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but
no, I know, but I get the picture.
You get the point.
Absolutely, and I hope that young people who are listening better understand that they too need to get that deposit and need to make sure they know what they're getting from that venue.
100%.
Yeah,
I always say make sure you appreciate it, and a venue will do. You might not be in a point of your career when a venue can cover exactly what you need and all that, but if they tell you, hey, we're going to do our best to make sure people are here, and we want to work with you long term, we want to build this place up, and we want to together build you up, we'll pay what we can, please stay and have something to eat. And and that might be okay for a younger musician to say, hey, you know what, I'm also building my career, let's work together and do that. Put me on the live stream, give me a recording, something, maybe that's going to work, maybe that's good. Or for a more established musician, be like, look, this is not a venue for me, but I understand, I'm going to send some young musicians there. We need to work together on these things and understand each other more, and make sure that we don't feel used. That's the worst thing for a musician, And exactly from a legal point of view, when you've fronted out all this money and then a natural disaster was like, oh, well, we can't reschedule you. We're booked for the next 2 years. So see you later. You get nothing. Go back to, Miami.
Right. So let me ask you this. How much practice do you do? Do you practice some every day? How much time do you put in? Because I know that's important in becoming the best that you can be.
So, I practice. Back in my young days when I was at uni, I practiced crazy hours. I'm not going to say how much. Everyone seemed to say, I flexed that they didn't sleep. And, it's kind of like this musician thing. I practiced more than you. I stayed 48 hours without closing an eye, And I'm like, I practiced a lot. I stayed nights trying to figure out that one thing that Herbie Hancock played or Bud Powell, and I was excited. Not once and twice. I didn't sleep the whole night and attended my classes. Of course, I practiced a lot. Now I practice a lot too. Life is more busy, but I don't have any kids or anything, so I'm actually, whenever I get inspired, I jump on the piano and play for hours. It might be more targeted practice, like I need to learn songs for a concert, or I want to record something, or I have a concert coming and I'm practicing for the concert, things like that. But it's still, luckily for me, it's still very prominent in my life. I did a good 3 or 4 hours today. And I will say what adds to that is that I actually have my own apartment and I have my own grand piano here. So I'm reaping the benefits of the financial decisions that I made, and I can practice whenever I want, as long as the neighbors don't complain. There's always something.
I'm sure they enjoy your music. Yeah. They're not going to complain. So I have one more question for you. What do you think has kept you in this space as your life has progressed and moved forward?
Like I said before, I found the people that really enjoy my music and call me to do concerts and, my ongoing things. I also really enjoy teaching at the university. So what has kept me going? I think I've had some very down moments when I'm reevaluating everything too. I think the main thing is to remember that, contrary to popular belief, because a lot of musicians say, I just like playing in front of people and all that, which is amazing fun to do that, and I love doing that. But when it comes down to me, I felt like when I put on Coltrane and Miles and Bill Evans and all my favorite, I kind of felt like they're like my best friends. Like I was listening to them, I was like, oh my God, I get this. I get you, Coltrane. I get what you're trying to do. I felt like I was like in this land where I understood their music and everything made like, not from a technical point of view, like I knew what I was doing, like the emotional connection was so deep, and I'll go to sleep sleeping, with Coltrane, and I'll wake up and I would be on the bus, and there was no, I had a Discman at the time, and I would listen to it, and it was just like this amazing kind of time which I had with these musicians, and I never got to know them. I didn't know who they were, now I've played with some of my heroes, but I never got to know them, but they were like my best friends. And that will always be there for you. And if you can tap into that, it will have longevity. Does that make sense a little bit?
Oh, absolutely.
The music is the music, and it's for me. I love this music. I love this music. Right. With everything I got, I love it. And if I don't, I love performing. That's where I get the energy. And but when it comes down to it, I still love putting a record on and enjoy it and figure out what was played. The curiosity of it will lead to longevity.
What we did not talk about was some of the people who you played with that were people that you really wanted to get to know or to play with. Can you name a few of those folks for me?
Well, the great drummer Ignacio Berroa. I remember when I was 16, someone in Australia, handed me an album of his, and I was mind blown. It was Cuban jazz, and he was swinging, and I knew he played with this Gillespie, of course, for a long time, and Gonzalo Balacaba and all this. But then I moved here, and he came to do a masterclass at the University of Miami, and I got to play with him. We reconnected later, and I think we've been playing. Now he moved to Las Vegas, actually, but when he was in Miami, we played together for about 5 or 6 years, and we were amazing friends, and we did a little bit of recording and whatnot, and it was such a pleasure to play with him. One of the masters of this music that I'll never forget, and consider him a dear friend. So Ignacio Berroa for sure. Greg Osby, I saw him playing in Perth in this huge outside area, and I was like, wow, this will never happen to me to play with this guy. It sounded so great, so free, so individual. I never heard anything like it. And when I moved to the States, he said, hey, give me a call. And I did, and I've been in his band, and we toured in Europe extensively, as I said before, in the United States. We played SF Jazz a few months ago. So that was an amazing thing. Terence Blanchard, when I first moved, I did a few gigs with Terence, and he called me to, as I said, to play the gig in the London Philharmonic. And Wayne Escoffery, which I get to play now, and next week, we've done a lot of things now, but I get to play with him next week. And so many of these musicians, I'm not naming them all. I get to play with Joe Lovano also, and but those 3 or 4 that I've named have been heroes of mine that I remember being a little kid saying, oh my God, I'll never get the chance to play with them, and then it happens,
How awesome that must have been, and how awesome that must have felt. Sometimes you have to pinch yourself to make sure it's real.
Yes, 100%.
I know.
And many others that now are popping into my head as we're talking. Jeff Dane Watts, which I did a tour with, and many things, Mm-hmm. I suppose the thing with Greg and Ignacio and, Terence is that they really did sought me out. They called me to do this gig, especially Greg, and hey, I want you in my band,
Right. Must be amazing to have had the opportunities that you have experienced.
Yeah, 100%. There's many musicians who got to play with their heroes, there's many jazz musicians who are doing it, I think what is unique to me is that I've developed something for Miami.
Right.
But I really enjoy working at the University of Miami. It's first day of school tomorrow. And I really enjoy being there. The faculty is amazing, and I love being in that energy when people are curious human beings. And second of all, I'm also extensively performing. There's periods when you perform more and periods when you perform less,
Right.
But the point being is that I found a way to make it all work. Those people are playing more than me. Those people are playing less than me. But I found a way to make it all work. I think if something to take from this conversation is there's a way to make it work and be financially okay. Maybe not a millionaire, not yet, Dianne, it's coming. But, everything that I'm doing, I'm inspired about, whether it's teaching at the university or touring or and that's good enough for me.
And that's what's important. You're the person that you have to enjoy what you're doing. Exactly. Wow, how time flies. I hear that music in my ear. But I want to thank you, Tal, for giving me this opportunity to interview you. It has been amazing. I've truly enjoyed it.
Thank you for making this happen. And I love this, these things when we really get to talk openly with no agenda,
That's right. So listen, you can watch me every Thursday night on Where Are They Now on Detroit Hot Television Facebook page. I now have a radio station in Tampa. It's called Tampa Bay Hot Radio. So I'll get to play some of your music on my jazz hour. Awesome. I'll notify you of the time. They're putting the show together for me right now, right here in the city of Tampa. Also, I'm on every Wednesday night on the Lit TV network. That's on Roku, Talk Politics. So I have something I just did on breast cancer awareness and that kind of thing. Don't forget to go to my YouTube page. It's Dianne Hart. I can subscribe and hit the bell. Every time I put up a new video, it'll notify you. So thank you so much. Bye-bye.